Well, we are with the great Robert. Now, is it Mug or is it Muggy or
like the weather? But I told all my elementary school teachers first day of school, Muggy, like the weather.
Okay, because you got a little confused because I thought it was Mug, at first.
In German, it was something like Mugge or something several generations back. But my great grandfather, about whom I wrote my second book, by the way, called Saloon Man, when he came over, he just said, Muggy, that's fine. That's what people could pronounce, I guess.
As long as they don't call you mucus, right?
Yeah, thank you.
I didn't even really look up, like, I know you've written a lot too. But I was more interested in the filmography part. But I'm a writer as well. I do a newsletter. You did was that high school or college that you did an underground newspaper?
Boy, you did do some research.
I went to
an experimental public high school in Silver Spring, Maryland, outside DC, John F. Kennedy High School, and the first half dozen years of it, they were on a grant from the Kettering Foundation in Ohio. So it was totally experimental. There was no bells. There's, team teaching. There was independent study. There was all kinds of great stuff. But yeah, that wasn't good enough for me. I decided to go a step farther, and I created an underground newspaper. And then at the end of my senior year, an underground yearbook, which got me suspended for the last 3 weeks of senior year, because who knew that school bus stops were school property, and I had been ordered not to sell it on school property. So that was great. It's like, sure, throw me. I'll take the last 3 weeks of not having to attend school.
Right. And, it's back in the 70s. I mean, not to age you or anything, but happy birthday coming up on Friday, by the way.
Yeah, happy birthday, man. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I'll be celebrating in Nashville. Thursday, I'm doing a book and film presentation in Memphis, and then my wife and I are heading back to Nashville on the way home to see her daughter and son-in-law, and we'll celebrate with them to the extent that we celebrate.
Now, I want to explain to everybody how we found you. You already kind of know already, but Mom and T probably don't know. But this is through our good friend Mark Pusey. The guy who sometimes will. This is the first time now we worked with him this season, but normally we have done lots of interviews. Like in the past, I mean, he's helped me last year especially. He helped me get a lot of people. And when I seen that, because I get his emails and stuff, and so I saw an author and filmmaker and stuff. I thought, well, this is kind of different from the normal music stuff that he always is sharing, which is great because there's a lot of musicians that I'm happy that we can talk to and all that too. But I like talking to authors as well, and I thought, well, let's see if you have some time and all that, and you respond back a lot quicker.
How much time you got? I've made more than 36 films, and these are my 3 books that have come out in the last 3 years. Let's see if you can see them. This was the first one, Notes from the Road, A Filmmaker's Journey Through American Music, which is a memoir. This was the second one about my great-grandfather. So that's not him, by the way, but just a generic Tampa, Florida saloon picture. So Saloon Man, German immigrant battles the limits of liberty, 1870 to 1915. And then this is the new one, companion piece to Notes from the Road. It's quotes from the road, the wit and wisdom of American musicians. And what it basically is a thematically organized, you're allowed to smoke on this one.
You can smoke, you can swear, you can do whatever you want.
You can cuss.
I'll bring it on. It's a thematically organized collection of excerpts from about 150 of the interviews I've done with musicians through, and this will date me, 50 years of making mostly music related documentaries. And originally I was going to do it just as a series of long interviews, but then I thought, it would be really fun if we have like 25 different chapters, each with a different theme, and then bring excerpts from all these different people in various musical genres into like a conversation, because they'll just follow each other. And sometimes I'm using actual conversations among artists, and other times it just a conversation forms from the juxtaposition of different comments from different artists from different genres, different parts of the country, and so forth.
I'm just surprised that I have never, like you figured that, like I know your name has to be a big name out there, but I've never heard of you prior to Mark sent me the information about you. Which is weird.
You got to get out more.
I guess so.
Just hanging in a room doing podcasts. You're just not seeing enough of the world.
That's right.
You got to go to movie theaters for one thing.
I do. But our movie theaters don't play the stuff that you do.
No, that's true. They sometimes have in the past, but these days it's mostly streaming and home video.
Yeah, or whatever, a Blockbuster or whatever.
Yeah. I do actually do a lot of public screenings around the world. In fact, a lot of my earliest films, like my Sun Ra film, my Gil Scott Heron film, my Al Green film, my Sonny Rollins film, are really the biggest in demand still in theaters around the world. And just jazz films alone, I have a fun thing happening in early June. I'm currently stuck in Indiana, as you know, which I came here to teach at Ball State University for 5 years, and just my wife and I never got around to leaving again. But I was most of my adult life was in Philly, and I made a lot of my films there. A few years in Mississippi also, but the Sonny Rollins film that I made 40 years ago was partly made up of filming the world premiere of Sonny's Concerto for Tenor Saxophone and Orchestra in Tokyo, Japan, and some interviews in New York City with some jazz critics, and then a concert of his ensemble at a place called Opus 40 in Saugerties, New York, near Woodstock. And it's Opus 40 is a sculpted rock quarry. It's really cool looking, has all these different layers of rock and a big obelisk and all this stuff. And so Sonny performed there. And so to get his ensemble work, I shot him there. And it got to be quickly, actually just as quick as I filmed it, before I even released the film, it became a legendary concert, not only because he introduced some really cool new music, but because midway through the concert, he jumped in the middle of soloing. He jumped 6 feet down from one rock level to the next, broke his heel, fell on his back, lay there for a second, and then continued playing, lying on his back, playing the saxophone, as the rest of his musicians on the higher level started playing. So a group called Upstate Films in New York State is bringing me into Opus 40 on June 5th for a 40th anniversary presentation of the film. And so it's going to be me and the guy who ran Opus 40 at the time, and my buddy Aidan Levy, who released the 800-some page biography of Sonny Rollins a few years ago. And then from there, I'm going on to show the Sonny Rollins film again the next night in Waterbury, Vermont. And then the night after that, the afternoon after that, we're showing my Sun Ra film in Burlington, Vermont. And hoping we don't stuck on the side of the road because gas is so expensive at the moment.
So just for anybody who doesn't know, the name of that is Saxophone Colossus, correct?
Correct. Named after one of his most famous early albums. And actually, Aidan's book is also called Saxophone Colossus. Yeah, it should be a very fun event, an outdoor event.
I'm surprised with all the people that you've done documentaries on that you never, unless you have, I just haven't seen it. But done anything on like Buddy Holly or Dale Shannon or Greg Kidd or those guys because I would love to see something like that. I know some people do
Some of
that.
them, of course, like Buddy Holly, were long dead by the time I was making films. But
But I mean, like, well, you could interview their families and stuff. I mean, the whole process and whatnot. Or
yeah,
not your style.
I did a film in 1999, 2000 called Rhythm and Bayous: A Roadmap to Louisiana Music. And in that one, I have Dale Hawkins, who did the original Susie Q, who was an interesting guy. He was out of Louisiana, but he went and recorded at Chess, and everybody considers it rockabilly, but he said he considered himself a white blues artist. It's not in the film. It's just what he told me on the phone.
Sure.
But I did try to raise money to do a film about Dion DiMucci, the original.
Oh, sure.
Dion and the Belmonts, way before your times, but but it was within my time, and he was up for doing it, but I just couldn't find the money.
Well, you did do one on he did do one on Robert Johnson too. I mean,
I did, and he was long dead, of course, by the time I did that. So I had the challenge of making a film about someone who's not around to be interviewed, who was never interviewed. So what I actually made the film about, it's called Hellhounds on My Trail, The Afterlife of Robert Johnson. So what I basically made it about was Robert Johnson's effect on everything that came after him. It started with blues, but his ultimate influence was much more on rock and roll beginning in the 60s, because all those, people like the Rolling Stones and a lot of the Chicago blues guys and others were heavily influenced by him. But it's a fun film.
And that was one thing that always intrigued me about the whole Robert Johnson thing, was that nobody ever got him on film playing. Nobody ever recorded. There's like only a few pictures of him even holding a instrument.
Yeah, they used to say there were 2 pictures. Then they said there were 3. I'm hearing there might be a 4th. And a friend of mine named Steve Levere, who's passed away several years ago, he's in the film because he at the time owned all the rights. He was representing I think it was a stepsister of Robert Johnson or something. So he got the rights for those photos and for all the songs. And so we made a deal with him. And in fact, he's the one who suggested I film. It was based in part on a week-long tribute to Robert Johnson at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And then I shot additional stuff.
When you made this deal, you didn't have to sell your soul like Robert, did you?
Well, I sort of sold it the whole way through, not just that one film. But if I really wanted to sell it, I'd have been, doing films about crappy pop musicians and stuff, instead of all these, to me, really interesting traditional music genres in various parts of the country and everything.
What I'm really curious about is the 2 from, was it 2003, A Night at Club Ebony and the BB King one? Why did those not get released? What happened with those?
You're digging deep. I was.
That's what I'm here for.
I spent 2 years as the. I moved from Philly to Mississippi because I got I was also going through a horrendous divorce and child custody thing and all that. And so it was good to get out of Philly. But I was offered a job as filmmaker in residence at Mississippi Public Broadcasting. So I moved down there for 3 years. But the first 2 years before I quit, I was, as I say, filmmaker in residence, and did a number of projects there. And one of them was called Blues Divas, which was shot. Morgan Freeman owns a
Ground
blues
Zero.
club, Ground Zero. He actually owns a second one. He and partners now in Tupelo, I think it is. But this is the original one in Clarksdale. And he and his partner, who also is now deceased, Bill Luckett, who was a lawyer, and for a time he was the mayor, they also owned a French restaurant. So I recruited, what was it? 7? Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 women, Irma Thomas, Mavis Staples, Odetta, Betty Levette, Ann Peebles, Denise LaSalle, a bunch of really cool women, all of whom were sort of part of the blues diaspora that left the Delta and morphed into all kinds of other Black musics. Brought them all back, and they did concerts at Ground Zero with Morgan introducing them, and then Morgan did the interviews over at their French restaurant, Medidi, which is no longer there. But I did some other projects too. That was not only a two-hour film, that was also an 8-hour public television series, and I also made 8 long-form portraits intended for home video. But other
and that
things,
was the last of the Mississippi Jukes?
No, that was Blues Divas. Before I went down there, I made Last of the Mississippi Jukes. That was partly based on Ground Zero, which they had just recently opened, but it was mostly based upon a legendary late night weekend juke called the Subway Lounge, and it would open at like Friday and Saturday night at midnight and go till like 5 a.m. And they had a couple of alternating blues bands. They would take turns every second week, and then all kinds of local musicians or people passing through after their gigs would come there and perform. And it was wonderful. And it had been around for a couple decades, but I got it just before it closed down, because it was actually in the basement, which is why they called it Subway. I was in the basement of the first ever Black hotel in Jackson, Mississippi. Used to be, if Black people of any kind, but including musicians, came through Jackson, they had to just stay with people they knew or church groups or something like that, because there were no hotels that would accept Black people. And in the late 40s,
there was one in Clarksdale too. One of those were in Clarksdale too.
Yeah. Actually, my great grandfather owned. He built a big Black hotel while it was still segregated down there. He built a 3-story Black hotel in Tampa, Florida, back in I guess it was 1913. But a lot of these were slow coming because segregation was so entrenched for so long, and then just giving Black people rights at all was, took so long. But anyway, one of the other films that I did while I was there, we actually, a couple months before I started work there, I was talking to the woman who ran the station, and we got to talking, and it was about that time where in Indianola, Mississippi, a town not where B.B. King was born, but where he grew up, they were about to have their annual B.B. King concert. Usually would happen in May, and they'd have one like outdoors. And then in this club called Club Ebony, which was a Black club, they would have a midnight concert. And so we worked it out that I and some of my usual crew members would work together with people from the station, and they had this big high definition video truck at the time. This was 2003. And so we went and we filmed that concert. And then once I started work at Mississippi Public Broadcasting, I started doing a lot of other filming of interviews and of stills and interviewing people like Bobby Rush and daughter of the former owner, the current owner, all these people. And so I made a film called A Night at Club Ebony. Oh, and we had filmed not just the B.B. King concert, but other people performing over the course of the evening before that. And that used to be the one night of the year when white people would come to that club too. So it was a very mixed audience, that one show a year. But it never got released because I was going to do a sequel to Blues Divas that I was going to call Native Sons, based after the book Native Sons. And it was going to be about Black blues men. And so I recruited all these different people, Little Milton, Bobby Rush. I was talking to the North Mississippi All-Stars, just a whole bunch of great people. But I got in a fight with my then boss, because by then I had moved from the station over to their foundation, and because the guy who ran their foundation wanted me to make projects that they could use to make money for the station. And so we got in a fight because he had told me that he would not interfere at all in any of my plans, and then he interfered in my plans. So I quit, and I was going to go work for Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi, teaching music filmmaking as part of this little program they had there. But I was supposed to start in early September, and August 29th, Katrina hit, and it wiped out the casinos along the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, whose taxes fed into the educational system. So all the people who had been hired to start in the fall, they got rid of their jobs. But then I convinced. I had just met the woman who became my filmmaking partner and wife, Diana Zellman, and I convinced my friends at Stars, who had previously funded Last of the Mississippi Jukes and purchase rights to Blues Divas. I convinced them to fund a film called New Orleans Music in Exile, where Diana and I and our crew went to, we went to Houston, Austin, Memphis, Baton Rouge, and Lafayette, as well as New Orleans. And so I filmed interviews with all these people where they had fled from New Orleans, and we filmed twice in New Orleans as well, just 2 months after Katrina, while it was still a basket case. But anyway, so I quit then, and they hadn't yet released A Night at Club Ebony yet, because they hadn't yet gotten the rights from B.B. King to use his performance footage. And so then my former boss tried to re-edit it. And I said, if you try releasing it without my edit, you're going to get sued. And so that's why it's never been released, but you can watch it on my website.
That's awesome. And the reason I'm so interested in like the whole Ground Zero stuff, Little Bobby actually used to be the house band. Little Bobby and a couple of his crew used to be the house band at Ground Zero. Wow. There's a producer over there that has Morgan Freeman's vocal booth, and we went over there, and there's pictures of me in his vocal booth holding Morgan Freeman's microphone.
Does he has a vocal booth in Clarksdale?
Yes.
That Morgan makes Freeman sense. Does. I never talked to him about that, but that makes sense because he used to always be having to go out to California to do narration and all that.
Yep. So when he was spending time there, and see, I can't think of this guy's name. I've got it written down somewhere because I did this newsletter when Bobby was alive, when we were doing when we had the bar. Whenever we'd take our trips, I'd write stories about our trips down to Clarksdale and down to Memphis. And I know I've got this guy's name. I can't think of his name.
I may not. I spend a fair amount of time there.
we had brought down some walleye, fresh Red Lake walleye, and I
Wow.
fried them up. We went over to this producer's place, and I fried everybody up some Minnesota fresh walleye, right? I mean, I can't remember who all was there. There was a bunch of people there. I know Charlie Musselwhite was there.
Because he lives there. He and his
Yeah,
wife.
and if I had the paper in front of me, I could tell you, but we had
Was
so
that,
much fun down there.
that one big guy, is that who you're talking about? The one you gave the guitar to?
Oh, no. Kingfish wasn't there, but we did see him down there.
Okay.
Right. He was a kid when I was first. Actually, he wasn't even born when I was first doing. When I first filmed in Clarksdale, it was for my film Deep Blues, which was funded by Dave Stewart of Eurythmics, and that was fall of 1990 that we were shooting. Big Jack Johnson there, and some other people, but we filmed all around the state. But yeah, Kingfish wasn't born yet. And I first saw him perform. I went down for the when they opened the Grammy Museum in Cleveland, Mississippi, which opened 10 years ago. And my friend Vasti Jackson was performing out front, and a couple other people. And that was the first time I ever saw Kingfish perform. And I thought, man, this guy's a kid and he's amazing.
But his first performance that I saw, he was singing Amazing Grace at a funeral. Bobby shows me this look at this kid. Isn't he awesome? He's like, babe, did you know that I got my guitar from him? Like, what?
Did you really?
Somehow, so Kingfish, somehow, I don't know the story behind it, but somehow, okay, Kingfish is one of his labels, one of his album covers. He's holding this blonde Stratocaster. And somehow Bobby ended up with it when he was living down in Clarksdale for a while, and he got it from somebody and found out where it came from. Okay, fast forward 10 years, when Bobby and I go down there, we see him, and Bobby's like jamming it out at these different places, and I got pictures of Kingfish signing this guitar for him.
That's great. So you guys are in Minnesota, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, northern Minnesota.
You've had a time of it this year, the last several months. How are you feeling about all that?
Well, we try not to go too political on the actual show, but we got a lot of people who are. It's like, because our show's more about pop culture. I'm the guy who's like the host or the co-founder and all that stuff. But I kind of let everybody just go wild, whatever they want to talk about, basically.
Right.
I mean,
I don't suppose you know my buddy Michael Tillotson, who's back living in Minnesota. He's kind of gone back and forth between there and New Orleans over the years, but he's written some great books. Okay. One about the guy who did the Crazy Cat cartoon strip, and another called The Kingdom of Zydeco, for which he borrowed the name from my film, The King of Zydeco. But I think he lives in a city outside Madison. You guys are further north, right?
Oh yeah, we're small town Minnesota. We're as close to the Canadian border as you could probably get. Yeah. Well, we're not that close. But we're close to Grand Forks and Fargo, North Dakota. North Dakota at all.
We're about halfway in between Grand Forks and Bemidji.
There you go.
Where?
Bemidji, Minnesota.
I don't know that one.
Well,
a lot of people don't. They've lived there forever.
So did the people there like your walleye as much as their catfish?
We used to have these Fridays where we would do walleye, and there was this special way that Bobby did it, and he showed us. He passed away like a year and 9 months ago now. He was on the charts for like almost a year after he was still on the charts. I mean, he was a blues legend, and I keep doing the podcast he started me on. That's what that little tag is. So he had me start a podcast.
He's on my podcast too, so it's kind of this Renegade Radio is like the Big Brother station. Hers is like the little sister kind of podcast.
I see.
Yeah, actually, the only reason I'm on Renegade Radio is because Frankie asked Bobby to be on it, and he's like, I don't have the time for that. Have Tanya do it.
Yeah. That's how it went.
So is it Frankie or is it Sean?
Well, hey, it can be anything you want it to be, I guess. No, it's Frankie, but Sean is my real name, my government name, Sean Everett Slauson. But
and
Frankie's just my cooler stage name.
What's the significance, if any, of the spelling SHAWN versus SEAN?
Because I'm not seeing. I'm not a seeing. That's not Sean. It might be, but it's not really the proper way.
I think the spelling just depends on where you're from, like where your family is from. I think there's
a lot of
English is SEAN.
A lot of Seans that are like from Ireland or whatever that would be. That
right. The SEAN I've usually seen in Ireland.
And with the W, it's more Americanized spelling.
And there's SHAUN as well, So, but I'm SHAWN. Yeah.
So I got in a really important question of my own.
Okay. That's that's cool. That's cool. I don't care. We our podcast. I want to explain a little bit about our podcast here, just so you know, because I'm sure you get interviewed a lot and everything. But our podcast is out in northern Minnesota, so it's like in little towns. Like we're close. Like I live in Brooks, Minnesota. She lives in McIntosh, and so that's close to like Thief River Falls. It's close to Bemidji. It's close to Grand Forks. It's just northern Minnesota. They talk about Minnesota so much, when they have like musicians and stuff coming out here, but they always talk about Minneapolis, and they forget that that's not all of Minnesota. There's a whole lot of Minnesota than just Minneapolis, But nowadays, all that's people care about is Minneapolis.
Hey, we're up where the rocks and cows are.
Yeah. You heard that one.
I live in Muncie, Indiana, which is a small city with a university, the one where I used to work, and a hospital, and that's about it. And it's surrounded by corn. How far
are you from Hawkins?
From here?
Oh my God!
I know that. If you watch,
we're an hour north of Indianapolis.
Okay. I was going to say, because Stranger Things, the show takes place in Hawkins, even though that's Jackson, Georgia.
I'm totally out of touch.
What was your very important question, Robert?
No, that was it. Which Sean is which?
Oh.
Wow.
That's the best I could come up with.
No, that's all right. No, so we've been doing this for about 2.5 years. I've been doing broadcasting for well over 20 years, but I could never seem to get an actual job in the actual community because all our stations around here are all fickle. They don't like new blood or something. They think that all your experience lies is a piece of paper that says your license or whatever to do all this stuff. But me, I've always kind of gone beyond the grid and just kind of been a little bit of a renegade myself, and just been doing interviews for over 20 years here, July 22nd, because I did my first interview in 2006.
Since they invented the internet, everybody's part of one big
Everybody's got a podcast.
Well, see, I actually went to school for broadcasting. Well, half the people who you probably get interviewed by never went to school for that, and they have these nice studios and stuff. And this is pretty much what we got here. So
must be nice. You can see I'm in the corner of an upstairs room.
That's what you're in?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought because it slopes up.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're not in the same house at all. That'd be weird. That's right. We're like that brother and sister that never got along at all, but somehow we love our podcast.
All right. One more question for you.
I was going to ask if you all actually have questions prepared.
Hawaiian Rainbow.
We do.
Hawaiian Rainbow. Tell me about Hawaiian Rainbow.
What happened is in 1986, I was making, as I say, the Sonny Rollins film. That was the year I made it. And also ended up making a big mistake, got married, and had a whole bunch of frequent flyer miles from all the flying to Japan and all this stuff. And so I used the frequent flyer miles to get us to. Oh, that's right. And then I also was invited to show a bunch of films in Australia, and so we turned that into a honeymoon. I was invited to show films, 3 films at the Sydney Film Festival, 4 films at the Melbourne Film Festival. They pronounce it Melbourne. And then we spent a week up in the tropical north, because as you know, it's down under. It gets colder the farther down you go. But it's called Cairns, spelled Cairns. And then on our way back, we stopped. There was like a 2-day stopover in Honolulu. And all of a sudden I was hearing all this amazing music that I didn't know anything about. And so I quickly, while we were there, just bought a whole bunch of, well, back then it was audio cassettes and stuff, which were easy to transport and everything. And yeah, that's right. CDs were just coming in basically that year of 86, way before your time.
No, not way before my time.
Okay.
I was only talking about 3 at that time,
Well,
probably.
You're fortunate to look like it's way before your time.
Why, thank you.
But anyway, then I got home, and no sooner did I get home than just by crazy coincidence, someone from what was then called the Honolulu Academy of Arts contacted me, and she suggested that I come back and show a week's worth of films. So, which I was doing a lot because I was sort of churning out a film a year in the 80s. And so I ended up doing, I did that in the south of France. I did that in Florence, Italy. I just did these like go show a week's worth of films. And so we arranged to do that in February. And then when I got there, the woman who was running the program introduced me to these really cool people, an ethnomusicologist named Rick Tremelios, and a young male DJ who had shows on Hawaiian music, and then a kumahula master teacher of Hawaiian dance named Vicky Holt Takamine. And we said, hey, and most important, the guy who, oh God, now I forget his name. That's embarrassing. Never mind. But the guy who would later become the congressman, he was then in the state Senate. He would later become the congressman and then the governor of Hawaii. And he convinced the state legislature to fund the film. And so he was also one of the people we met with that day. So I said, okay, great. I'll do a film on Hawaiian music. And we mostly shot in Honolulu because we didn't have much money to travel around the islands, though I did send Vicky and one of my cameramen to the Big Island to shoot her in some cool stuff up at the top of the volcano with all the sulfur rising and everything, and sent him to Maui to film all kinds of cool flowers, plants, and Hawaiian cowboys working, which is one of the themes of the film, is about the Paniolo, they're called. So anyway, we made that, and then later we showed it at the Honolulu Academy of Arts, and the then governor came, and a lot of musicians and dancers came, and other politicians that had helped fund it, and that was great. And so meanwhile, I was making a film also about Bob Hope and his World War II traveling troupe of performers who entertained the troops around the world, and did a really cool interview with them at one of his homes in California, a reunion. And so that overlapped, and then that was being made as a PBS Pledge special, and then overlapped with that. The Hawaiian legislature this time gave me more than three times as much money to do a film on Hawaiian dance called Kumuhula Keepers of a Culture. And for that, we filmed on all the major islands and all kinds of different types of dance and types of music and everything. And so those two are now available on a single DVD together. And most of my best known films can all be streamed and all too on Amazon and lots of other places. But that's how that came about. And, you know, both of those films, see, like most of the films that I've done over the years, I've done interviews and with really cool artists, you know, musicians, in a case like that, dancers and stuff like that. And so maybe I do a 1 hour or 2 hour interview, and then I could only fit a few minutes into the film because there'd be lots of people interviewed and there'd be lots of performance. And sometimes there'd be experts about the kind of music and all. So for years, I'd been thinking, how am I going to ever get to share all these other great stories told by Sun Ra and Gil Scott-Heron and Al Green and Marcia Ball and Irma Thomas and Dr. John and just Bobby Rush and Nelvin Bishop and a million different people. And so, you know, I started making these books. And so overlapping with the writing of the other two, I started putting together the, you know, Quotes from the Road, this collection of excerpts from all these interviews. And so I'm sort of, it's sort of like 3 books about me and my interests over the years. The first and the third, of course, the first one about my music related films, the third one letting the musicians speak for themselves primarily, and the one in between is about where I came from, this extraordinary, hugely successful, but also controversial, because he was controversial because he was in the segregated South after coming over from Germany, and he refused to go along with all their insane racist laws. And so instead he hired, partnered with, and supported minorities, not just Black people, but also all these Cubans coming in to work in the cigar factories in Tampa and all this stuff. So each of the 3 is sort of my story separate from the films themselves. But so I'm still making films too, not as frequently as I used to, because I also refuse to go looking for money anymore. But like lots of other people, I now have figured out how to make films with iPhones and shooting them myself, and my wife shooting instead of hiring our expensive camera people and audio people and all that.
That's right.
I actually do have a really cool device. Is it here? Somewhere in here. I have this really cool device that holds the iPhone in it, and then it looks like a camera, and then you hold a handle, and then you can put a microphone on top. And so the film that I released last year called Deep Roots, I shot most of it myself using this device, all the interviews and various other documentary things. And then my subject, Bill Stieber, his wife is a former longtime newspaper photographer. So for concerts, I got my wife on an iPhone, me on an iPhone, and Bill's wife, Pat, on an iPhone. And then we took a feed from the PA system mixes and then remixed them later. And so for like next to no money, I made that film. And I also this week am premiering a new film, a 50-minute film, which I didn't have to shoot because it was all from footage I've shot over the years. And it's a tribute. It's one of the things I'm showing in Memphis on Thursday. It's a tribute film to Irma Thomas and Marcia Ball and their longtime friendship. It's called Sing It for Your Sister. And the center of it is a joint interview I did with the 2 of them on the West Coast Blues Cruise in 2010. And then, but I've shot with both of these women since 1993, multiple times. And so I have all this previous interview and all these previous performances. And so I just used the joint interview as the nucleus and built everything else around them. And it's really fun, intimate look at these two extraordinary female artists and their longtime friendship, plus their friendship with Tracy Nelson, who was not there when we filmed the interview. But I have footage of the three of them that I did for Hell on My Trail. I shot them while they were at the King Biscuit Blues Festival in Arkansas. Shot the three of them with my friend blues guitarist Roy Rogers backing them up in a parking lot of the hotel they were staying. And so they did Robert Johnson's Come On In My Kitchen. So that got reused in this film and all too.
You know, you have just been so busy for so long with all these projects. Like, weren't you doing like 3 all at the same time? Like in the early 90s, you were doing like 3 different. How do you keep all this straight?
Well, that was another really cool development because I had just made a film about Alligator Records, the blues label out of Chicago, and I made it in partnership. Why do you hit Bruce Iglauer for free stuff?
No. I mean, I know of Alligator Records. I used to do stuff with them for a short time.
Yeah. And Bruce is still working hard. But anyway, so I made this film called Pride and Joy, the Story of Alligator Records, funded primarily by BMG. And BMG had a new home video company at the time. And so then the guy, David Steffen, who was running BMG Video, liked it so much, he said, you know, I really want to film about bluegrass. And I want it shot at the World of Bluegrass events, which were then in Owensboro, Kentucky. And so I said, okay, I can do that. But I said, you know what I really want to do? I want to make a second record label film because I really like doing films that show all the people who support independent music makers in various ways. So I said, I'd really like to do a film about Rounder Records. And that way, it won't be just blues. It'll be a bunch of American musical genres, you know, Zydeco and Cajun and bluegrass and Memphis soul music and Tex-Mex and blues in Austin. And then Bill Morrissey doing folk music, singer-songwriter music up in New England, and just all kinds of great stuff. And so he slowly agreed. And then, as I was working with Scott Billington, the record producer from Rounder, he starts telling me how Beau Jacques, the Zydeco artist, is going to put on this big concert at the Habibi Temple in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and that we can go film that for the Rounder film. But then I started hearing from other people in the community down there as I started making calls that actually Beau Jacques was getting Buzu Chavis, the old veteran Zydeco artist, to come perform and open for him, which really pissed off Buzu to open for the younger Beau Jacques. Yeah. But what he was secretly doing was he was going to bill it as a battle of the bands to settle, now that Clifton Chenier was dead, who would be the next king of Zydeco. So I said, this has to be a separate film. So I went back to David and I said, for just a little bit more money on the same trip where we're traveling around the country doing this stuff, we can stay a little bit longer in Southwest Louisiana and we can make a film called The Kingdom of Zydeco. So that's how I came to make 3 films at once. And so these were all shot primarily in the fall of '93. And then David had made a deal with the Nashville network to get some funding for them in return for a 1-hour version of the feature-length Gather at the River of Bluegrass celebration. So I had to quickly edit that first, and then they rushed it on the air on the Nashville network in January. And then I had to rush to get the Zydeco film done. And so I premiered that various places in, I guess, May of that year. But by then, David, new people had taken over BMG, and they were trying to force their own leadership into BMG Video. So David was leaving, but he made it so to make sure that I got funded to finish the Rounder film too. So which I premiered that in August or September, I forget. And they came through with the money, but it got complicated. But I always said if I got enough money, I could make 3 films, in 1 year, and it was good practice for later doing like Blues Divas, where I'm doing a 2-hour film, an 8-hour TV series, and 8 long form. And at the same time, I made another thing I was never able to officially release, which was a film shot at the what was then called the Handy Awards in Memphis. It's now called the Blues Music Awards. And so I made a 2-hour film about the Handy Awards and about all the various blues artists performing there. And see, we shot Blues Divas on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Clarksdale. And at the same time, I'd had them building a stage and setting up lights and camera positions, all that. I had another group from Mississippi Public Broadcasting doing the same in Memphis for the Blues Music Awards. So we shot there in Memphis on Thursday night, then rushed to Clarksdale, filmed the next 3 nights and days in Clarksdale. So simultaneous with making all that Blues Diva stuff, I'm also having to edit this 2-hour film about the Handy Awards, but it never got released because my boss at the foundation had promised like $500 per musician and then could not raise enough money to do it. So that too, you can see on my website, robertmugge.com, Mugge, robertmugge.com. Oh, it's on the screen, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
that's interesting. That is interesting. Yeah.
I mean, you just and I don't think an hour is long enough to get everything. I mean, you are just a wealth of knowledge. You're brilliant. I mean, we haven't even gotten into all the awards and mentions and honors you've gotten. I mean, just
for hours, I'm sure.
I have to say it's nice. I have gotten a number of awards and stuff, but I almost never submit for awards because I think awards are nonsense. I don't think you can compare 2 films or 2 books sufficiently. So if somebody wants to give them to me, I'll take them because anything that helps you promote your work is great. But,
Lifetime Achievement Awards. Come on now, though. Lifetime Achievement Awards.
I have gotten a couple of those. And I did get an award last year for Saloon Man from this Florida Authors and Publishers Association, which has an annual competition. And so I got a gold award for biography for that one. But, and I will admit, with this new book, we think it's got enough of a shot at a wider audience, even though I with a small press in California run by a former journalist with Rolling Stone and others called Mike Sager, who's really a terrific writer. But I think we have a shot with this one. So we are submitting to a couple big award things just in case. I'm not going to name them and then be embarrassed when we don't get nominated. But we did just though get a really great start because there's this thing called Kirkus Reviews, which anybody who's an author knows about because you have to pay to submit. It's several $100s, but that doesn't assure you of anything. And then all kinds of other publications around the country all pay attention to what review is that you get. And so you can get a great review, you can get a mediocre review, you can get a poor review. But on top of getting a rave review, you can also get what's called a starred review. And I got only 3% of all the books submitted through the year get a starred review. And I got one with notes from the road, and I just got one for quotes from the road. So we're hoping that's a sign of things to come.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, we appreciate having you on, Robert. Man, I tell you, you're just full of information. But we're happy that you were willing to spend some time with us, because I was a little nervous, to be honest with you, about how this interview was going to go. But I've seen your other interviews that you've done here, because I was doing some research on YouTube, just find any.
There's a whole lot of interviews I've done over the years, including early ones with my old friend Terry Gross at Fresh Air and stuff. There are at various places on my website. Yeah, well, this has been really nice. And I usually warn people in advance. Once you start me talking, it might be hard to stop me. I'm sorry I didn't warn you, but you quickly figured it out.
Yeah, that's okay. We like that. Way. We like to, yeah. I can't get her to shut up.
The gift of gab.
That's right. Well, you were born a librarian, so that's just.
Well, those were good questions. They led, from my viewpoint anyway, they led a lot of good places, which I appreciate.
Well, we appreciate you, and
I'll check out both of your podcasts. The other one's a podcast too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And mine's just the Renegade Radio that I think I sent you the YouTube channel, but
you did. I just didn't have a chance to go there yet.
Lots of stuff.
I did another interview with Greece at 4:00 this afternoon, and I've been having to get materials down related to what I'm doing on Thursday. We leave tomorrow morning to go down there, so it's been a pretty crazy time. But I did appreciate you responding almost immediately to Mark Pucci and everything.
Oh yeah, well, same here. Because most of the time it takes a while for people to respond, or for him to get anybody to respond back, because he's a busy guy too. But man, I love working with him. I hope he doesn't ever retire, but I'm sure one day he probably will.
Right. No, I feel blessed to have him this time. Often I do not have a publicist, and man, it can make such a difference. Because, his list of people like you guys alone, is so vast. And so, often the best I can do is okay, let's see, who's writing for the New York Times now? Can I find their email address?
People don't realize that independent media is where it's at now. I mean, you don't have. Everybody wants that New York Best Times or interview and all that stuff, but you know what? Independent media is where it's at, and it's. I don't think it's ever going to go away.
No. And let's face it; it puts certain candidates who shall not be mentioned into office because there was such smart use of podcasts of a certain sort and everything.
Sure.
No, I'm much more interested, like you are, in the in music and culture related ones.
Well, we appreciate that, and thanks for spending some time with us here on our.
It's been a pleasure. Enjoyed you both, and I'll be checking out your work.
All right.
Thanks,
well, we
Robert.
appreciate you guys, and thanks for all who are watching tonight, and we'll be back again for some more summer series interviews soon.
Oh, can I just? You can cut this out. But can I just ask you when and where this will be available, or will you let me know via email or something? So
I'll let you know by email, but it'll more likely be on, because we're streaming it live right now on my Facebook page.
Oh, it's on there now? It's been on there the whole time?
You didn't tell him we were live?
I thought he saw the sign saying this is live. Yeah.
I can't see it.
Is
there a sign that says live?
Yeah, there's a little red button on that, or a little red. Where's it? Yeah,
you know
right
what?
in the top corner where it says 1.116.
You know what happened? I have this really big Apple display that I edit films on and write books on, and everything else. And when I'm on with somebody like this, I get told what my email is coming in, and those kept popping up in the right, covering that little red live sign. So that's what happened.
Yeah, StreamYard's a crazy thing, but I choose this over Zoom because there's more features here. It feels like
No,
I'm on. You know?
sure, if it
So,
works best for you, why not?
all
So
right, man.
thank you
Well, we
so much.
appreciate you. Thanks again. We'll see you guys
All
next
right.
time for interviews.
All right.
All right.
But will you send me a link to where people can find this?
Yeah. I'll do it. I'll send you an email right now. As soon as we
Fantastic.
get done. All right.
And it'll it's already formally up there, or it will soon be formally up there.
It's already ready to go, but I can edit it. I'll have a more edited version later on. I mean, but
Okay,
this
I
is
figured
live right
you
now.
might edit it down to an hour or something.
Well, maybe we'll see. Maybe I'll let you edit it and everything. It can be the master at working, right?
Hey, I was going to offer to send you all, interview clips with some of these people that I'm going to be showing at these places, but we talked so long, I don't know where you'd fit them anyway.
Well, here's what my thing is, and I'll include this in the live stream here just to let people know that for you, that if you feel that we give you a good enough interview and that you think that we give other people a good enough interview, if you have any friends or people that are in the industry that are looking for some type of publicity like this, we're here for you. So
Okay,
send out my information. I have no problem with that. So
I'll let you know when I have something else coming out too.
all right, that sounds great. That sounds great, man.
Once I got new friends, they can't get rid of me.
That's right. We're the same way. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
All right, stay warm up there in northern Minnesota.
When it comes to podcasts and social media, stick with the best. Grand Forks' best source. Keep up to date with local happenings and news, interviews with city leaders, athletes, nonprofits, and of course, lots of feel-good stories. Grand Forks' best source is a great way to advertise your business or events with the most economical ad packages available. And contact us to find out how you can have your own podcast with the best studio in the area. Check out Grand Forks' best source on your favorite social media app. Grand Forks' best source, the Forks' best local podcast. Call 701-213-0863 or online at gfbestsource.com. We love the Forks. Grand Forks' best source, giving the Forks their identity again.
I put my phone away now. There he is. Hey,
Frankie?
what's going on there? How you doing?
Oh, good. It's kind of a crazy day.
Yeah,
Crazy day in LA, which is not normally the case, but
I can't imagine. With all that beautiful weather and everything,
Yeah.
how crazy could it be, Oh, well, hey, I'm honored to be able to do this with you, man, because, it's been quite a while since the last time you and I have had the chance to speak or do anything like this. Because I
Yeah.
believe you were releasing your album at the time in 2018, and we were talking about that. So, yeah. So a lot of time has passed since then. So, and now I do this podcast called Renegade Radio, but normally I do it with the crew, with more people. But
Yeah.
because you requested to do it like this, I'm doing
Yeah.
it one-on-one with you. So
yeah.
welcome, my friend.
So where are you at?
I'm back in northern Minnesota.
Oh, northern Minnesota. I was just up in Minnesota a couple of weeks ago.
I know. I see that. I should have paid more attention because I live in Brooks now, which is not too far from like I'm only probably about 5 or 6 hours from like the cities.
Yeah.
Not maybe not even that far, probably even 4 hours because I'm closer now. I used to live in Greenbush, which is more up north, closer to Canada.
Yeah.
But when I got a hold of you the last time back in 2018, I was still living in Rapid City, South Dakota at the time. And I was doing a show called Black Hills Blues, which probably could have been something by now if I would have stuck around over there. But a lot of BS happened, and it just things weren't around. That year was kind of a weird year for me too, as we've had the last few years for everybody else.
Yeah.
So I decided it was time to move back home and see what I could do at home. I guess I didn't want to, but it just kind of had no other choice. I guess it was just either that
Yeah.
or more bullshit. I guess. But anyway, no, I'm excited to have you on the show. I know a lot of people when I announced that we were going to do this or were excited because I shared it everywhere, and some of your old friends probably that have seen you perform before, or people that know about you, especially from that. I know you're probably aware of that Minnesota music history group page. Are you aware of that at
No,
all?
I don't. No.
What's his name? Neil something. Oh, I forget the last name. I know his first name, Neil. He's in charge of it. Oh, let me look real quick, so I'll be able to figure out his name here. I don't want to butcher his name. That's what he's friends with me on Facebook here. Neil something. Let me just look here. Because this guy's been in charge of this page for a long time, and what it is it discusses all about Minnesota artists or people who have really performed in Minnesota a lot.
Yeah.
So this is his kind of his baby, kind of like. So that's kind of a lot of people that watch you perform, when you come to Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure are aware of that. Are aware of that page anyway, because it's all about Minnesota artists and stuff, and you have a lot of Minnesota roots, I would say. What do you think?
Well, I just play there a lot. I've been there a lot. I have more friends there probably than anywhere. And if you added up all the nights I've been in a hotel room in Minnesota, I probably lived there a couple of years.
Oh, sure. Well, you seem to. I mean, you seem to be really. His name is Neil Bond. If
Oh,
that name
okay.
sounds familiar with you.
Yeah.
Uh, I would say that in a situation like that, that's what I mean. Like you have so much Minnesota history, you might as well just consider yourself
Yeah.
a resident or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when everything kind of blew up was maybe 96, and I was touring and doing a lot of radio interviews, and I was in Brainerd and I was doing a radio interview, and the program director there said, KQ just added your song. And I didn't know what KQ was, but I knew like it was a big deal. I could tell by the way he was making, how he was reacting. And then when KQ, like when they got on board, it was really like a chain reaction, and I got a lot more airplay from a lot more radio stations. And then the and then I got really big in Kansas City and
Oh, sure.
a lot of places, but definitely, the Twin Cities has always been the big fan base that didn't leave me like a lot of places that did, because I'm sure KQ doesn't play me anymore.
Well, things have changed a lot in the radio world, as we all know, which is, I think, in a way, I mean, it can be good, considered good, but I always kind of look at it, the negative parts of it, because it's like, a lot of stations don't allow people to do late night shows anymore. It's all satellite based. It's all like
Yeah.
it's coming from a different place and not your own. And I'm a firm believer that radio should still, at least in some markets, especially a small market, when there's like not a whole lot going on in the town, and this is one of the things that people look forward to, the radio station. I think they should allow more local people to be able to do to do their shows like they used to do live
Yeah.
in the studio.
Yeah.
Now we don't
Right.
do that anymore.
Yeah.
So
And like, there was a time when like people there were more regional hits. Like I'm from Southern Illinois, but St. Louis was our big city that we were close to. And,
sure.
there were bands like REO Speedwagon was huge, but the rest of the country didn't know who they were. And
Yep.
then once radio consolidated, you didn't really have those regional hits anymore. And I'm sure that was the case for Stevie Ray Vaughan in Austin. I'm sure like nobody knew who he was, but I would bet the radio station was playing him and, you know,
Sure.
making him bigger.
And a lot of people that have listened to your music have, and even myself, because I can see it. I know we've talked about this before, but it's just like one of those questions that, well, it's not even really a question. It's more or less the fact that there's a lot of similarities to the way you looked, especially back in the day when
Yeah.
you were first starting out, I could see like a Stevie Ray Vaughan or Stevie Ray Vaughan, like doppelganger, almost like if you had a
Yeah.
twin, you definitely
Well,
had that look.
there there's a reason for that. So in the early 90s, I did a tribute to Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I never pretended, I never said I always said I'm Corey Stevens.
Sure.
And little by little, it really snowballed, and I ended up having a really great band. And the drummer that played on the first album had just joined my band like maybe 2 weeks before we did that album. And the bass player had just joined like 3 months before. And they were just amazing musicians. And so I basically bankrolled this album to sell at my Stevie Ray Vaughan tribute shows. I wasn't making an album to release to the world. And so then it came out and people compared me to Stevie Ray Vaughan, but it was just kind of like, well, I wasn't really expecting, this album to go, nationwide. And and also the record company should have had the brains to change the artwork, but they did. I remember saying something like, we should have changed the artwork. And the guy at the record company said, I just thought it was a cool album cover, but I think it was kind of a bad idea. And then from the second album on, I just tried to distance myself from that,
Sure.
and the funny thing is, like, I have a big file cabinet here, and I go through my old reviews and stuff. And I was reading one, and the guy just hated my first album, but he started out by saying I was just like a Stevie Ray Vaughan imitator, and like, you don't need to read any further or whatever. And then he just goes through, and I was just laughing. I thought it was hilarious, but at the time, I'm sure I would have been really traumatized, because I
Oh
was
yeah.
trying to make it, and
Sure.
but now I look back and I'm like, I really, it's just funny. I don't care. It is what it is. It was what it was.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, it's like I mean, if you could go back and be a fly on the wall and reappear at those times, and maybe things would have been
Yeah.
different. But it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, regardless of looking similar to him, your style, was your own style. I mean, you
Yeah.
you did eventually find your niche, and
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest similarity really is that kind of like what he did, where I kind of like synthesized a lot of the influences. Like he like I remember when he came out, and I'd be telling people like, Stevie Ray Vaughan is like awesome, you got to check him out. And people like, oh, he's a Jimi Hendrix wannabe or clone or whatever. So, and I think it was the same thing. Like I was heavily influenced by him. Like, but he had like also like Albert King, that was just real. I mean, he was just basically imitating Albert King note for note. I mean,
yeah,
but he improved on it all. I mean, I'm not knocking him, but I'm saying like I did the same thing. Like yeah, he was a big influence. And then I had a couple other big influences, and I just kind of like, and somewhere in the cracks was a song like Blue Drops of Rain and It's Over, that were totally mine. Didn't sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan or anybody else.
sure.
So, and just like same with him, like Couldn't Stand the Weather. It doesn't sound like Jimi Hendrix or Albert King.
Yeah.
So
No, and that's what I see. What I've heard about you, it wasn't obviously back in the day, but it kind of feels like it was for my own personal taste now, because of the fact that I believe it was 2007, and my friend Lil Bobby was doing pretty good at his performing. As far as like getting to know everybody, trying to become his own name and everything, and eventually he would do that. But you and him kind of had a good relationship. I mean, I don't know. I'm
oh,
sure you
good. I thought you were going to
do.
say we had a.
No,
I
no,
thought you were going to
no,
say we had a tiff or
no,
something.
no, 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 no. I always knew that everything was
Yeah,
good between you guys, and I'm pretty sure even now it still is. I would say I don't think you
yeah.
guys ever hate each other or whatever.
No,
But you like, were you like you were watching him perform, or he told me a story about you were watching him perform, and then I don't know. Did you? Is that where your friendship kind of really blossomed then, or
I
something?
think
Like,
maybe we did a show together. He
yeah.
probably opened for me at like a festival or something.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe up in your part of Minnesota, up there
Was
somewhere.
it at the Empire Arts Center? Maybe.
Maybe that was a really cool venue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was that's a
The
grand
guy from the Fargo's Blues Festival, I think, was doing that. He had the indoor, the winter Fargo Blues Festival there.
Sure.
That was
That
cool.
owner passed away, or the
Yeah.
original owner passed
I
away.
played the very first Fargo Blues Festival in
Oh,
1996 with, it was me, Keb Mo playing just acoustic guitar, and Jeff Healy band. That was
oh
the
wow.
first Fargo Blues Festival in 1996. Yeah,
Oh, that sounds like a good lineup anyway, regardless.
it was. It was great.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
you got some, some good history. I mean, I just the thing that I just don't understand is why a lot more people don't know. Like maybe people like do know about you, but it's like I feel like even on mainstream radio or even when I listen to like old blues, like if I listen to like satellite radio, I don't think
Yeah.
I even hear you on the radio at all. Like any of your songs, like if I do, it might be very rare, but because I'm
Yeah.
friends with early times and I
I
don't,
get airplay on Sirius. Is that what it is now?
yeah,
Sirius?
that's what I'm
Yeah,
talking
because
about.
people will send me, they'll take a picture of their radio in their car and like, hey, they're playing you on Bluesville, you know?
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and then I get quite a bit of play on Spotify. That's kind of
Oh
where
yeah.
everything, and Apple Music, that's where everything. I get an email from Spotify, and this month they said I had 10,000 over 10,000 streams of the song Blue Drops of Rain,
Oh wow. Wow.
which I mean, I don't know what that equates to in money, probably like
Five
50
cents.
cents.
5 cents.
Yeah, 50 cents is dreaming, right?
50 cents. Yeah. Yeah, I know, and that's what kind of sucks about being an artist, especially. I mean, I don't think you're a struggling artist because obviously you're living the good life, and look how nice you have a nice big house in Los Angeles
Yeah.
and everything. Life is good, but Spotify. I mean, have you ever? I mean, I'm sure that the thought has come up a lot, but have you ever bothered to get a hold of Spotify headquarters and kind of figure out the secret to why they don't want to take care of the artist, but they'll gladly have their music and everything. Because I have,
Uh,
I
yeah,
love.
it's the music business. It's always been a racket, It's always been where people figure out how to, hoard all the money and not share it. And musicians are, we're just kind of like we're just kind of lost, and we need somebody, we need like the smart business guy to come in, and then the smart business guy always looks after himself before, the
Oh,
dumb
of course.
musician. And it's a story that just gets repeated,
Oh yeah. But I mean, personally, for like as somebody who's a fan of music, and especially since I have all the experience that I have with doing shows and everything, and music shows and whatnot, I love Spotify. To me, Spotify is
Yeah,
great. I mean, minus what they do to artists or whatever, but I like the fact that there's variety because where was this
yeah,
like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I mean,
yeah,
I love having a collection too, don't get me wrong, but it's just nice
yeah,
that everything's here.
yeah,
I'm a physical media guy, but I love that they've given you everything, even though
yeah,
we own nothing in the digital realm.
yeah. I had Spotify all last year because I wanted to see what the fuss was all about, like thought I'm
Yeah,
gonna check this out. So I had it for a year and I liked it was pretty amazing to just like I haven't listened to King Crimson 21st Century Schizoid Man. And I was listening to that. I was like looking it up on Wikipedia and I was like, God, I forgot who was in this band. It was like, Greg Lake from Emerson Lake and Palmer.
yeah,
Anyhow, so all that, and then I really am into Paul Desmond. He was the sax player from Dave Brubeck. So that's kind of where like an example, like you get Spotify and you discover all these albums by an artist you didn't know. And
sure.
then I got rid of that and got Apple Music and I tried that out and then I just canceled that and now I'm back to Pandora
Oh,
and my
okay.
own my own personal programming.
Well,
But I
well,
listen to a lot of classical and jazz. That's kind of
well,
my
the last time we talked, you were talking about how that you also collect. You're a big vinyl guy, or you have a collection, or you did. I don't know if you still do.
yeah.
Whatever. What I mean, you listen to a lot of like what? When do you find time to just
I
do
don't
whatever?
really have my turntable set up right now, and I just can't get rid of my vinyl. I just keep it, and it's just fun to really get it out and look at it. It really
Uh-huh.
for. I mean, for somebody who's like 20 years old and hasn't really looked through too much vinyl, I mean, sometimes just the sleeve that holds the record, you pull that out and
Yeah.
it's like an advertisement for all the acts on the label. I mean, it's pretty cool. And it's like just typical of like what our life was like way back then. I can tell you're a lot younger, but
Yeah, I'm
when I
40.
was a kid, I just listened to so much music and it's like
Yeah.
that was just sit around. Like now I listen to music sometimes sitting around, but it's usually when doing things, listen to music. But back then I would just sit around and there wasn't a whole lot to do, and you just like would look at the album cover and read the credits and check out the
Sure.
artwork, and that was kind of part of the ritual. And now that's what's kind of weird about now, where you're just kind of listening to music. And even if for me, I release an album and I wonder if anybody's really going to ever see the artwork, but you still do it because it's fun and
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I took in with CDs. When I
yeah,
collected CDs, that was always great. It was just a great feeling
yeah,
to get a package from Columbia House, even if I owed them money or whatever. It was always
yeah.
nice. Or to go to a store and see physical media. Because my dad got
Mhm.
me into all that stuff. He got me
Yeah.
into loving rock and roll. My first love was Buddy
Lucky
Holly.
you.
Buddy Holly and a lot of people my age probably didn't understand the roots of rock and roll or give a shit about the roots of rock and roll, but I did because that's
Yeah.
how I grew up. Now I'm not a musician myself, but having the love of radio and learning about that and have that knowledge now that I do,
Yeah.
I think it's come full circle,
Yeah.
because I will always love music and that'll always be no matter
Yeah.
what. Some people
Yeah.
say as you get older, your taste change or you like completely delete it from your life. I don't think I could ever delete it from my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I took a break from 2019 and it's like I was just kind of tired. I wasn't really, I don't know if I thought I was gonna just stop, but I was really tired of just going to LAX. That was the main problem, is I hate going to LAX, and then I don't mind flying, but it's a lot of preparation to go do shows. And so anyhow, I just found myself listening to more music than I ever had, because before I was always like practicing or writing songs or recording or rehearsing, and I just had time to just listen to music. And I just went back to everything I listened to in high school pretty much,
Sure.
like the Stones and the Beatles and Steely Dan and then and I just have like playlists like Sheryl Crow, Sade, I really like, and Al Green. And in fact, if I'm thinking about, I don't, I always think I'm going to have an angle when I do another album. So I'm kind of working on some songs right now, but I'd like to do something kind of like Memphis,
Okay.
like Al Green and Stax stuff.
Okay.
I really listen to that a lot. And the Muscle Shoals guys.
Like doing covers of those tunes or doing
No,
what type of variety
no,
of
you
your own
just kind of
style?
like that. Yeah, but do
Oh,
my own
okay.
thing. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that'd be interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I watched
And
that
I've
documentary on Muscle Shoals a long time ago. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
So the
And
history of like,
I've reached out to a bunch of people. I live in LA, and it's just like just in my neighborhood, I've got like with my wife and daughter who are musicians, I've got four other people in my neighborhood that are songwriters. So I've kind of reached out to people, said, "Hey, let's write a song." So I've got at least like 7 or 8 people
oh,
I'm gonna co-write with this time, which I haven't done. So it should be interesting.
yeah.
I'm hoping these people are good at lyrics, because I can write music all day long, but it's the
Well,
lyrics that I labor over.
well, that was what I was going to ask you about because the last time we spoke was basically to promote the album at that time, and I have it on here. It was the 2018 album, "The Party's Gonna Go On," and that
Right.
was the last time that you and I spoke. And I listened to that album, prior to you sending it to me, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's still relevant, and
Yeah.
I feel like your music, like from what you used to do to what you have done in the last probably 10 years or so, or maybe even 15 years, is more, I mean, would you say kind of political music, kind of in a way?
Well, the one before that was kind of political. The
But I mean, like,
2014 album.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was when like the whole like when Julian Assange situation happened, and before that Michael Hastings. I don't want to get into it,
Sure.
But anyhow, that was the only album I ever did that was like a concept album, and it was very political, but not like Democrat, Republican political,
Oh,
more like just a lot of people don't know that the word political also means current events, you know, and that was kind of my angle. And I'd never done an album where I had to kind of stick to a theme and I couldn't just randomly write songs. And I was like literally on my MacBook Pro, like looking up things because I like one song called "Don't Drone Me, Bro." About droning people, and I had to look up because I wasn't, you know, I thought it was Hellfire missiles, but I wasn't sure. And it was just like that kind of stuff where I really had to have my information correct, where, you know, normally you're just writing, you know.
Well,
But I look back at my albums and it's like sometimes I think like, wow, would it have been better if I kind of would have stuck to that early formula? Because people love my first album. That's all they talk about, Blue Drops of Rain. And they like the second album, and it's definitely different. And I think, should I have stuck to that? And then I look at my favorite bands like Steely Dan and the Beatles. They didn't stay in one place, you know. Tom Petty, you know, I think Tom Petty's stuff was great, but like 15 years after he got going, I think he really, you know, turned the corner and made, you know, a lot better records, you know, than
well,
the
that
early
song,
stuff.
that song, "The Last DJ," is kind of like similar to like your song, "You Used to Be Cool."
You
Because
got it.
I love songs that have to like do about controversy with radio, because I feel like if more people did songs like that,
Yeah.
maybe radio would get their shit together and go back to their old roots
Well,
and stuff.
yeah, I was just talking to a friend about this the other day. And what needs to happen is radio needs to go back like they did to, like, say back, I don't know when it was, late 60s, early 70s. They hired the program director didn't know music. It was all changing. He didn't know what was going on. So he hired DJs, and each DJ just did his own show. So each DJ was programming his own show, and that's what they need to get back to,
Absolutely.
at least like a little bit. It doesn't have to be all the time, but it's like what they've done is, it's like us in my song, "You Used to Be Cool," man. It
Yeah.
breaks my heart.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
it breaks
it
my
really
heart
does. I
too.
loved FM radio, you know,
Yeah. I worked
and
for a couple stations, and you know that I volunteered for at the college and another college in South Dakota. And you know, it just, even those formats, it's like, I mean, it's cool that they're letting people do that, but it's like, I want, you know, a career in radio would have been great. And I feel like if I would have graduated or been around like 1990 or 91 or 92, or prior to 9/11 anyway, we'll say,
yeah, yeah,
that I probably would have had a career in radio at that time, you know, but
yeah. It would have
yeah, it just
changed.
sucks.
It would have
Yeah.
changed for the worst.
No,
Yeah,
no, it just, you know, I agree with you, because it's like, I think it had to do with what that payola. It's either, I get the name of this. Is it payola or
oh
payola
yeah.
or
Mhm.
payola? Because
Well,
payola.
yeah. See, here's what they did was, first, like, for me, in my personal opinion, I think payola should be okay. I mean, like, look, you're a radio station, you're for profit. Why can't you accept money to play stuff? But anyhow, Congress, like, no, you can't do that. I don't know why. I don't know. Doesn't make sense, but that's what they did. So the way they, you know, this is how businesses, they always find a workaround. So what they did was, there's, instead of payola, it's called independent promotion. So what you do is you hire a guy who's not working for the record company, and so you go over to that guy and you say, here's $50,000, promote this new album. And then he takes care of, so if there's any, like, so first of all, the record company's getting what they want, but then there won't be any blowback for them. And
Uh-huh.
then these independent promoters, somehow they just seem to pull it off, you know,
Sure.
or they did. I don't know what's going on now. I'm sure it's still going on now, but
Well, is that what happened?
there's a great book called Hitmen.
Okay.
I've read 2 or 3 times. It came out in the 80s about Joe Isgro, and he was like the biggest independent promoter guy. Yeah, you know, that tells you how that was like in probably 85, I'm guessing.
Is that what kind of happened to Alan Freed? Like he was known as like the king, kind of the king of radio, or rock and roll radio, or whatever. He invented that
Yeah,
term anyway. And then all of a sudden they
yeah,
found out that, you know, he was doing all that stuff. And but I mean, I think it made an impact, because you know he was doing something positive. He wasn't just doing it to fill his
yeah,
pockets or whatever. He was helping people who he believed was talented
yeah.
to get their number ones, and you know, and
And the funny thing about that story is Dick Clark was also like pulled into that,
yeah.
and he came out okay. Somehow they didn't charge him. But he had like, oh my, the story about Dick Clark is crazy. Like he had like co-writing credits.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, like he was just like totally like, I mean, he was
Yeah.
powerful. I mean, if you got your song, if you get the band and they went on American Bandstand, that would help break the record. So, it's kind of like I said in the beginning, like why not give that guy something if
Exactly.
he's giving you something? But he seemed to get around it all, and everybody forgot about that. Nobody even knows about that.
Well, even with the fact that we have like station managers and salespeople and all these other different departments, it could still work like it used to. Like, to go back to the format of just saying, hey, we're gonna let people, do their shows live. We will still do automation when we need to if somebody's
Yeah.
not around, because that's technically what automation was supposed to be for. Like if you're really sick or whatever, or if you're
Yeah.
not gonna make it, you or on vacation, you had a voice track your show or whatever. That's what it was originally for. And then they just figure, oh, we'll just do this all the time now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
in
I
law,
was lucky to see the whole music business that I loved, and that was the business I wanted to get into. I was lucky, like, because I got a record deal in '95, and those like the latter part of '95 was kind of the beginning of the end, but it was still like DJs and you just saw it changing how the consolidate. You go to a radio station and there'd be like 12 rooms with
oh,
12 stations. And you'd go in there and there were no records. They would have everything on like a computer screen and they would just be
sure.
playing stuff. And it was, yeah, it just, it was sad. It's
In
really
Los
sad.
Angeles, I mean, I suppose they're pretty much. I mean, I suppose there's hundreds of stations over there. Is there any stations that you know of that still allow people to do stuff 24/7, or is it all kind of, oh, we do a morning show and an afternoon show, but no night shows are live. They're all.
I don't know. I don't know. I
You don't
don't,
listen to much of it
I don't
anymore.
listen to it. I was in an Uber the other day and they were playing this station called Coast, Kost.
Okay.
And it was pretty good. I liked the mix of songs and it was funny because it was in the morning. I was going to LAX, so it was the morning show, and they were actually playing music, which was cool. And then they had some girl that was called Social Clean Charlene or something. I was like, is she
Like what?
socially clean? Like when she goes on social media, I don't know, whatever.
Oh,
But
geez.
but there were no ads. The only ads were ads she was reading,
Uh-huh.
and there were like most of them were for like the CIA is recruiting, looking for new recruits.
Uh,
I
geez.
thought,
Sounds
okay,
like it. That's for
FM
sure.
radio is now doing CIA commercials.
That's crazy. That's crazy. No, well, I mean, for me, I've always just been fascinated by stuff like that. That's why, talk about satellite radio and how that's changed everything too.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't want there to ever be a time where music just kind of, well, it'll never, I don't think it'll ever fade away. But I mean, it's like, I think it's always just going to continue to evolve. But I mean, do you think the blues is always just going to be the blues, or has that evolved too? Do you think in time during the time, not just
Well,
because of what's going on, but just
I remember like in the late '80s going to a lot of blues festivals in early '90s, and you still had a lot of big marquee acts. And then like by '90, I don't know, like I know in the early '90s I saw Albert Collins and I saw Albert King twice, and then they died. And then after that, there just wasn't, there wasn't a lot of blues guys left.
sure?
I mean, I saw Willie Dixon at a blues festival, blew my mind. Uh, I saw Little Milton, and I did a show. I opened for I'm gonna blank on it now. Etta James.
Uh-huh.
She was still around like by the late '90s. But
Sure.
without promoting the young guys, it's like there's no big stars left, like there was. I mean,
Sure.
there's a few, but I don't really know who. And then the ones that are big stars, you kind of wonder like, how are they getting promoted so much?
You talking like the
Um,
Joe Bonamassas of the world?
no, but yeah.
That guy blew up pretty big. I mean, I don't know what his secret was, but it's like
I was aware of him in
talent.
the '80s. I saw my friend gave me a video he taped off of some show
Huh.
when Joe was like
little
probably
kid.
not even 10.
Yeah.
And he was like ripping it up, you know.
He played with BB King, like BB King kind of helped discover him a little bit. Like they went to a show, and because his dad sold guitars, kind of like Norman Harris does at Norm's Guitar.
Yeah, right.
Kind of the same situation, kind of. And Joe grew up with that, and that's kind of what inspired him to love music and stuff because of the guitar business. And he didn't want to be a guitar salesman.
Yeah.
He wanted to be his own artist and everything. And after being told
Yeah.
many times no, he finally just, he did his own thing, and he got a crew that believed in him. And there's a documentary out about him, and
Yeah.
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a show with Joe. What would it have been? 2000, maybe like 2004 or something. So he was only like 20, maybe in his early 20s then.
Sure. Well, you both
he's
were
a nice guy. Joe's a
you
nice
both
guy.
were at Thief River Falls in 2007.
What's that?
Where I live, real close. I work at the casino, right? Seven Clans Casino in Thief River. You guys were there for the last Red Blues Festival. Both of you guys were. I don't know if you were both the headliners at all, or
We
did
weren't
it
on the same
night?
day, I don't think.
You were, yeah, because I know we
Yeah.
had the Fabulous Thunderbirds on that year because Johnny Lang was supposed to be. He was
Yeah.
supposed to come and he didn't show up at all because they were going to
Yeah.
charge people for the festival, but they decided not to, so they got some other people. But I remember you being on that card anyway.
I remember playing, I think it was me and Coco Montoya and John Mayall. But that might have been a different casino because that's
Okay, but I do remember you being there. You were at one of the events, and that was
yeah.
one of my early days of when I first started over there. I haven't
Yeah.
been there that long. I've had other jobs and did other things, but I
Yeah.
recently just went back to the casino because there ain't shit around my area to do, that I
Yeah.
find interesting. And no radio station will hire me, so
Yeah.
I figure, well, I'll just go back to the casino then and be a
Yeah.
security guard. Anyway, yeah, but I remember that festival, and I remember here because I never seen you live before in person, and I was blown away. I mean, I mean, I mean, like when you go back to like your early days when you like the first like real performance that you did in your career, I'm sure you had a lot of nerves back in those days, but what helps you cope? Like other than just knowing the music, or whatever, but like what got you through like your early shows like back in the day without being
Uh,
so stressed?
you mean like being nervous or something or?
Yeah, like how did you feel like I'm sure you were happy that you could be perform in front of a big crowd, but like what were some of the feelings you were going through to get you through the show?
Well, probably like a lot of Crown Royal because that was my thing for many, many years. But I never drink
Oh,
before shows and I never drink after shows. So I'm sure there were a lot of people that thought it was more like I don't know. It was kind of my shtick, I think, more than anything. But I finally quit drinking just because the headaches and
sure.
sleeping bad. It just wasn't worth it. And I've quit doing a lot of things, and that's one I don't really miss is the drinking,
Do you remember kind of like the first big festival or show that you ever performed?
Well, I played a big festival in the early 90s up in San Jose and with Eric Burden and I always forget the name of these two guys. They were really big back then. And one guy played guitar, one guy played harmonica. And then 95 was the first year I really started going out and playing bigger shows. And I opened for Foreigner and I knocked on Mick Jones' dressing room and said hi to him. And he was really, really nice. So that was probably the first really big show where it was like, I don't know, probably 5,000 people at least. It was a big, probably more, I don't know. But I don't know, back in those days, man, I was just like bulletproof. If I got nervous, I always looked at it as like a good nervous because I get a lot of adrenaline when I play and like
Sure.
I'll practice and do rehearsals, but I'll always play way better at a show just because I'm kind of like an overachiever and running on a high adrenaline and that all just kind of amps me up. but I've always liked that. I mean, then I took some time off and I started playing again last year, and that show was weird because I was nervous the whole show. And usually you're nervous maybe, and then you settle down.
Well,
But I hadn't played in like 4 years, and it was
yeah. So you
just like
kind of lost track of
I
yourself.
was, but I mean, I played great, and I was clear-minded, but I just couldn't settle down. It was just like I was in a car wreck for 2 hours,
Well, you've had a lot on your mind, I'm sure, with all. I don't want to get too personal because
Yeah,
of the interview, but like you've gone through some things, and I understand, and maybe that's
yeah.
part of it, maybe So
Yeah.
it's hard to say. But what do you think about people that go back, like Rolling Stones just started their new tour just like a couple weeks ago? I mean, what do you think about people that do stuff like that are in their 80s, 90s, or whatever, still rocking it up? Is
Hey
there
man, I can't quit. I'd be doing the same thing too if I could be going out playing stadiums and making millions of dollars. I don't,
But do you think?
I can't forgive them for getting rid of Mick Taylor.
But do you
Mick
think that?
Taylor is one of my
But,
favorites.
but do you think it's not about the money anymore? Do you think it just, or do you think it's just because they just don't want to, like, they're too afraid that people are going to forget about them or something, or do you think
I
it is
think
about the
it's
money?
partly about the money. It's a lot of money to like, they know that money's there, and and Mick is a very astute businessman, and so and I think they love doing it. It's not that much work, really. I mean, they go like in the old days, a band would go out and tour for at least like 6 weeks or something. And a lot
Yeah.
of these bands now, they'll do like 3 shows a week, and they'll do it for like maybe do like 15 shows, and they travel on a private jet, and it's just and stay in the best hotels. It's like it's living the dream, and they're just like, they're still doing it.
Well, I would hope it's also because of the love of the music too.
Yeah.
I mean, money, yes, I understand that, but it's like if you're a successful musician, how much money do you need? You should have enough right now by the time you get
Yeah.
a certain age.
I think Mick Jagger loves it. I think he loves like getting out on stage, and
Yeah.
and killing it. And I remember seeing a documentary on him, and they were like, what do you think before you go on stage? Like, are you nervous? And he's like, I think this better be a good fucking show. So I think he like, it's like that's how it should be. You should feel
Uh-huh.
that pressure that you're going to put on the best show possible, and I think that's probably a big reason he's doing it, is like it's a challenge, and there's a lot of money in it too, but I think it's got to be a lot of fun.
So you were playing a couple weeks ago. You were in the city. You were in southern Minnesota. I think was it in Medina, or where was it? Where was?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was anyway. Uh, so let me ask you this: did you feel like you put on a prime performance after not performing for a little bit, or?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways it was, in some ways maybe it was the best show, but in some ways it was like the best show we ever did, because we had not only a piano player, Bruce McCabe, but then I had my own B3 player, Paul Testa, playing. So I had
Oh,
piano and organ. And then the opening band, the Jorgensens, I conned them into singing backup, Kurt and Brianna,
yeah,
and they're like amazing. And like I didn't, I don't live in Minnesota, so I didn't
yeah.
really get a chance to rehearse with them. And man, when we went over the songs at the sound check, I was just like, wow. I was not so we had like, I usually don't have like really cool backup harmonies. So yeah, in some ways it was like a really amazing show.
Paul Testa, that name sounds familiar. I think that that was one of
Yeah,
Bob's guys. He's still around.
probably. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought,
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while since I've seen the guy, but it's like I remember, he was getting up there in age back in the days, so I didn't know if he was still doing anything or not. I mean, as people get older, so it's like you
Well,
don't.
Paulie never did drugs, so he's got that going for him.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Did you have a
Never, I
pretty?
don't think he ever drank either. I mean, I never saw him drink. So, you
So
know,
when performing in front of people and doing a good show, or even if the show goes array, how much influence does the audience have on you to do a good show when it comes
um,
to just you know doing whatever?
well, I guess a lot. I mean, because I'm like Mick Jagger walking out on stage. I'm like, this better be a great show, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like anybody, like a comedian, anybody. When you go out and do a live show, you're thinking like shit could go wrong, you know. You could have a technical problem. You could forget a lyric, you know. I mean, if I forgot the lyrics to a song at the very beginning, I might like be kind of stuck there. You know, if
Oh,
I
sure.
forget a lyric in the middle of the song, it's okay, but just getting going, or like if I forget, you know, so you're worried, you're thinking like of all the things that could go wrong. And then you've got the experience to know that most of the time everything went great.
Sure.
So there's that. But so yeah, I mean, it's like the audience is like it's pressure.
I
And I
know.
like try to I've kind of for a long time I did well when I was drinking Crown Royal, I was
Yeah.
talking to the audience, no problem. And then I quit drinking, and then I wasn't talking to the audience as much. And now I've kind of figured out like how to talk to the audience in a way that I really like. Because I hate people that repeat things. You know, you see them at one show and they said it at that show, another, you know, I think that is just so weird.
Sure.
And I don't like saying corny things that people say, and I don't like audience participation where you get them, you know, I think that's corny. And so I've learned to kind of like do things where I talk to the audience, and then I feel like I'm kind of interacting. Like I'll be talking and I'll like this last show a couple of weeks ago, I was like trying to make a point of how in the old days, I don't even know how I got on this, but I was making a point of how in the old days you go hear a concert and the opening band would have nothing to do with the headliner, you know. And
Uh-huh.
and I couldn't remember the name of either band. So I'm like, you know, the band that did 21st Century Schizoid Man, and somebody yells
Okay.
out King Crimson, and like, yeah. And then the band opener for them was they did Jim Dandy, and somebody yelled out Black Oak, Arkansas. And so you feel like, and I like that because I didn't plan that. I'm not like, okay, let's do questions and get people involved, or, you know, but it
Sure.
just happens, you know, like at that moment, you're really connecting with the audience, or, you know, it feels that way. And like when people applaud for a song, it's great, and, you know, you like it, but it's not like a connection because it's just kind of tradition, you know, you play a song, but when people like yell things out, you feel like you got, okay, now we're connecting here, you know.
Sure, sure. Well, I know that a lot of artists, and I've noticed this from going to past concerts and festivals, that's a lot of people nowadays, and maybe this has always been a thing, I don't know, but they create like a set list of what they're going to play for the day or for that evening or
Yeah.
whatever. Do you ever change it up, just like improvise?
Every all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the band's okay with that? They don't care that if, you know, because they know what, you know, they know what they got to do. If you say, well, we're going to
Yeah. I mean,
we're going to go this one here.
yeah. And then it's always good to like throw in some new song that you didn't do, and everybody's got to learn it, you know. And so it's good to mix things up. And like what we did last this show a couple of weeks ago is I live in LA, my band lives in the Twin Cities, so I rehearsed by myself with a bunch of backtracks I made from the Myth Live album. And if I don't have those songs, then I just play along with the drum machine. And I came up with like some cool little changes. Like at the end of Blue Drops of Rain, we went into this cool instrumental thing. And, you know, so it's just like you try to think like, even if, you know, you can't, for me, I can't not go do Blue Drops of Rain. I have to do that. And there's certain
Sure.
songs you have to do. But you got to remember, like everybody sees you, they've heard you, and you got to like, you know, mix the set list up a little bit. And in that case, like, you know, change it up a little bit, give them a little surprise where you go into a totally different little jam, you know.
Sure, sure, sure. Well, I tell you, Corey, I do appreciate you let me do this interview. I know it's been kind of a long time coming because we've been planning this for quite a while. It just, you know, been
Yeah.
kind of some bumps in the road. But my last question, I guess, and then we'll get to some promotional stuff. Uh, what do you think your legacy will be? What do you want people to remember about you and your music, I guess?
I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, my legacy for some people will be is like I stepped on sacred grounds and copied Stevie Ray Vaughan and did Lenny. Oh my God. It's just like, you know, and then you know, I don't know. Maybe my legacy is just the singing, because like there's a tons of guitar players out there who don't make it, and you got to go like, why? If you're a guitar player, why did you make it over people who can play a lot better than you? And it's a lot of like times the songs and the singing that people really connect to, and then the guitar playing is all they talk about. You know,
Sure.
like you go see Eric Clapton, and you're like, his voice is amazing. Even now, his voice is still amazing. And but you leave the concert, you don't go, wow, his singing is great. You know, they just talk about his guitar playing. And I think really your legacy is, kind of like the singing. That's what kind of got in the songs. That's kind of what got you there,
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, for anybody that hasn't learned a lot from this interview, how can they find you and learn about more about you?
Well, I'm on Facebook, and I'm just a normal guy. I go on there, and, I'm trying to have social media kind of freaks me out because I'm really afraid like I'm going to say something really stupid or piss people off. And that's, that's why I kind of like don't go on it a lot, but I have a Facebook page. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, like a
Facebook.
Facebook
It's like
page.
the real Corey Stevens with periods between the and the other words. And
Sure.
then I have a website, coreystevens.com, that I need to overhaul. That's a whole story in itself, but it's got
Sure.
like a bio and some
Sure.
things,
Well,
and
that's
it's got
awesome.
tour dates. But Facebook is like, I know a lot of people like Instagram, and my age group, they're all on Facebook. I talk to people like, hey, how'd you find out about the show? Facebook. So I figure like,
Yeah.
Facebook
I
is,
mean,
you know,
it's out there. I mean, it's
outlived MySpace.
yeah, yeah. How many people still have a MySpace page? I think the sites still exist, but they're not really. I don't know. Nothing's really going on with that anymore. That's
Oh God, that was my first foray, and I was like trying to figure out, and what is this
that's
MySpace? And then
probably
you have your main friends, and you get to so you cultivate like these friends, your eight friends or whatever. They had like a lot of stupid ideas.
well, I remember when Facebook first came to be, and it was okay for a little bit, but then when they added the chat feature where you could actually chat live with somebody, that's when
Oh,
it started to really grow.
yeah.
But before that, it was just no different than the MySpace page. It just looked
So
different.
you can chat like one-on-one, kind of
Yeah, like how we like I
like
could chat with you on Messenger right now if you were
with a
on Messenger.
video.
Yes, even with
Oh,
video.
really?
But
Oh, okay.
I prefer like as far as do it like this way to Zoom because
Yeah.
for some reason it's better to capturing audio and video at the same time.
Yeah.
I could get a virtual mixer, but it's like sometimes those are difficult, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
I just have a simple setup, but I have a nice computer that
Yeah.
is
And
processor.
you're just capturing voice, so it's not that
Yeah.
complicated.
No lag, not too much anyway. I have good
Yeah.
internet too, so. Well, Corey,
Yeah.
I tell you what, I do appreciate this. I know it's been a long time coming, but it's nice to finally get this accomplished, and it's good to see you too because it's like I always wonder about you, even though we do talk sometimes on the phone or whatever. But
Yeah.
well, make sure you're doing okay because, like I said, I know you've got some things or whatever, and
Yeah.
but it's good to know that you're still rocking and rolling. Never forget that,
Well,
never
thanks,
forget
Frankie.
yourself, yeah. And I do appreciate it. So thank you for being a part of this interview and thank you for
Sure.
being part of Renegade Radio. We'll see you next time.
My
Bye,
pleasure.
everybody.
Okay.